Hello, everyone. Welcome to a very special scene for Living World of Darkness Rage Across New York. In this scene, we have the tale singer of the Sept of the Green, Saoirse O'Brien. First, she is praying at Dana's shrine. She kneels before the shrine and she says to Great Dana, please grant me the wherewithal and strength to convey the message of this tale that I am about to tell. It is extremely important and one that has taken me a while to muster. And she'll sit and meditate for a few minutes. And then she will leave at the shrine an offering, an original copy of a book about Irish history, one of her favorite books. And then she will stay in the Ember and head to the Sept. And tell the tale she'll sit for a minute before making her. It's not necessarily a howl, but it's definitely a. No, she'll howl the tale. It is important that it reaches the ears of as many Garrow on Sept as possible. So she will shift to Lupus. And she'll meditate again for just a moment before lifting her head. I am Saoirse O'Brien, screams the huntsman's fury, Adrian Fiona Galliard, and tale singer of the Sept. The tale that I am about to tell you is one of most importance to be told, and it has taken me a while to get this out, and I apologize for the delay. We begin with the inception of a kinfolk council here on the Sept of the Green. The kinfolk of the Sept were given a bill by children of Gaia Arun William White, deeded Wild's mixed blessings, as he clearly believed they needed rights. Well, the kin already had rights, but a more human-minded Garou believed that they should be on paper, perhaps to make them seem more real and not just lip service. The kinfolk seemed to like this idea, so they then formed a council, first headed up by Jeremy. And then there's a little bit of a pause. The Garrow of the Sept collectively agreed that the rights were a good thing, but some were uneasy about it. Putting the rights already afforded to them on paper and essentially making it law could put a target on the Sept and invite a war or wars wrought upon us. Something our Sept really couldn't afford to endure. Jeremy then tragically passed away. And the kinfolk were all distraught. All of us did our best to be there for our kin, to comfort and console them. And some of us offered to help those kin not yet claimed or watched over by Garou. I, myself, claimed one kinfolk and was looking to claim another. As she caught the interest of my entire pack, And she was Fiona Representative Elizabeth Frankenet. There's a hint of sadness in her voice as she says the name. So she takes a second to just kind of compose herself for. And around the same time, we'd found a Garou from another sept who'd been murdered, stripped of their skin. And we knew that that could only mean one thing: a Skinner was on the loose. For those who don't know what this means, a Skinner is a kinfolk who has decided that they should have been a Garou, or are fed up with poor treatment from Garou, and the only way to fight back is to become one. So they will try to make themselves into one. Only a handful of kinfolk know the rite and how to perform it, but it is known that they need the skins of 5 Garou to complete the ritual. The official name for them are skin dancers, and they can be terrifying indeed. The next part does get a little personal for your dear tale singer here. As a matter of fact, most of the rest of this tale is a bit personal for me, and several Garou on this sept. As I said before, I was wanting to claim Elizabeth, but I didn't want to claim her against her will. So I got to know her, spent time with her, heard her stories. My pack, the Seekers, comprised of Fiona Ragabash, Aiden, Thrives in Twilight, Lynch Krause, Get Fenris Arun, Dallas, Final Breath Shakar, and Metis, Fiona Theurge, Thousand Cuts. They were also getting to know her, and we were all trying to get her to trust us and regard us as family. She told us that she was abused before by a Garou, and that was her reasoning for being on the council and seeing to it the kinfolk are treated fairly, in hopes that she could prevent what happened to her from happening to anyone else. Which we all felt that this was noble of her. We had no reason to see any of her words as false. She was even missing a finger as a result of the abuse. The entire Seeker Pack became very invested in the plight of the kinfolk, and we were vocal about our support for the council. And we pushed Elizabeth to run for the head of the council, and she was voted in. After that, we then set our sights on getting Aiden's wife, Shayla, voted in as the new Fiona representative on the council. No one ran against her, so she did become the next representative. While that was going on, another Garou went missing. An investigation was launched, and members of the council were being suspected, as well as other kin. As the suspects were investigated, I wanted desperately to believe that Elizabeth couldn't possibly be the Skinner. We learned that the Skinner had a teacher and twin who was a Ronin Garou. And another terms lesson for y'all. A Ronin is a Garou who has no tribe but is not a cub. They can learn gifts from any tribe if they find a willing teacher. They tend to stay outside of normal septs and often run alone. Sometimes they will form packs together, but it is a rare occurrence. And even rarer, they can make gifts of their own. Now, back to the story. The knowledge of the Ronin was gained through a journal found after the death of the Skinner's teacher. Metis Wendigo Theurge Solatsehin deeded Raven's third eye, summoned the spirit of the latest victim of the Skinner, a Wendigo Garou. She received information that the previous tale singer and keeper of the land of the Sept of the Green may have been victims as well. So she, along with her packmate, William White, grabbed Thousand Cuts and Aiden to go with them to the Sept's graveyard. And as they were digging up the bodies to see if they were skinned, they were ambushed by the older Skinner, the teacher. Talote gave her life to ensure this older skin dancer was slain, In the midst of it all, she also got 1,000 cuts out of the way of the silver knife that took her own life. She died honorably. Will, with the help of Aiden, killed the offending foe Garou. And after the fight was over, the 3 remaining Garou confirmed the suspicion. They were in fact victims of the current Skinner. The journal was picked up, gone through cover to cover, every word examined. We all ruled out the possibility of it being Elizabeth, as she was mentioned by name in the journal. And the contents of the journal said that they were advised to use a code and not mention any names. So we figured that those that were mentioned by name in the journal, they wouldn't give themselves away like that. So our suspicions went elsewhere, namely to Mike and Tyler. And then one night, shortly after that, myself and 1,000 Cuts, we found ourselves in the Umbra with a few other Garou. Lupus, Stargazer Galliard, Kailani bites the worm's spine. Shadow Lord Galliard Razvan, Shadow's wisdom. And a cub named Jason. We were all having a jovial time, telling stories and jokes to each other. And some of those jokes were pretty bad, but we were having fun anyway. And then the stuff came around to the Skinner, as it was a hot topic at the time. It was very in our face. And talking about how we couldn't figure out where they were, things like that. Razvan suggested using the Rite of the Questing Stone, which we all sort of just kind of face palmed. But 1,000 Cuts especially couldn't believe she hadn't thought of that herself. But as time running out on getting to the Skinner before they got that 5th pelt, we went on the hunt. All of us just picked up and went to follow. And we were led to some apartments. We scouted them out, determined that we were in the right place. We waited to see if we could catch a glimpse of who the Skinner might be. We watched as a car was loaded up with what we were pretty sure was the skins. And I peered across the gauntlet and caught a glimpse of someone inside. She had dark hair, glasses, but she was missing a finger. My heart sank just a little bit, but I thought maybe it was a coincidence that it wasn't actually her. And then we heard someone come in the Umbra. And as I look from the mirror I was using to who was coming, I see Elizabeth standing there in front of me. And my heart fell right into my stomach. Couldn't believe that this woman, this kinfolk I had gotten to know, was fond of, and wanted to claim could be the Skinner. I couldn't believe it. And then she took Krynos form, and we quickly realized that this was her twin. But the woman I had spied inside the apartment was Elizabeth. So I shook myself off. We all prepared to fight. But then the Ronin took flight with wings we determined was a gift used by the Black Furies to fly. We decided to split up. 1,000 Cuts and Jason went to track the Ronin, The rest of us crossed to follow the car. Elizabeth had gotten in and was driving away with the skins. We knew that we needed to get the skins and we needed to capture Elizabeth. We called for a car and we tailed them. And Razvan drove quite expertly. We followed them outside of the city. And when we got out of civilization, we managed to run them off the road. I got out and I confronted Elizabeth. Razvan and Kailani got the skins out of the trunk while I detained her. And I put her in the back of the car we were in. And I got in there with her. I was trying to understand why she would do this. I didn't understand. She was so cold. Not anything like the woman I thought I knew. She was vile and so proud of what she'd done. She said that she and her sister would trade off, so sometimes we would be talking to her, and other times the Ronin. And she was convinced that she had won, regardless of what the outcome would be. Saoirse pauses for a second to collect her thoughts again. So we get her back to the Sept, and we hand her off to the Truth Catcher. Truth Catcher tells me to make sure the pelts were returned to the families of fallen Garou, and I enlisted Kailani's help to do that. But that is not the end of our tale. No, there is much more to the story. During all of this going on, I get a Fenris kinfolk named Kiara fled to our Sept from the Sept of the Sentinel. She was escaping forced marriage and heard about what we were doing with the Kinfolk Bill of Rights. The Sept demanded her back, and we tried to negotiate, but they were having none of that. And it really looked like that we were going to go to war, as we didn't want to let her go back. We didn't want to turn our backs on what we were supporting. And we found out that Elizabeth was behind that as well, to distract us from the work that she and her sister were doing. She was also behind the death of the original Kinfolk Council leader, Jeremy. Well, her sister was. The Ronin smothered him with his own pillow. Elizabeth had herself a kinfolk boyfriend named Cole Trimbenson, who was Get of Fenris. Unfortunately, when he found out what Elizabeth was, he decided to take his own life. So there was another death that she caused. A couple days after we detained her, a team was assembled to go after the Ronin. Thousand Cuts and Jason had tracked her location and were keeping tabs on her to make sure she didn't go anywhere. The fight was hard. The Ronin was taken down and killed. The fight was not without a casualty, though. Dallas Jakar, final breath, gave her life. But in true Dallas style, she pissed on the Ronin before she died. And with that, the Skinner threat was ended once and for all, with the death of the Ronin, and then, a couple days later, the death of Elizabeth. Jacob Wormsbane Clay administered the rite of the silver death upon her. She went down in one cut, but not before looking right at me. That same cold stare, sneer on her face. The victory was bittersweet for all of us, but especially for those of us who were very close with Elizabeth, with the council, with everything. And through all of this, we all learned very valuable lessons on the treatment of our kinfolk. We must do better, be better. Our kinfolk are precious, and we must treat them as such. As for the fled kinfolk, Kiara, we were fully prepared to fight for her right to choose to stay at our sept and be free from the tyranny of those seeking to take her back to the Sept of the Sentinel. The ever-vigilant William White decided enough was enough, and he decided to take matters into his own hands. He challenged the Alpha of the Sept of the Sentinel, and to the shock and surprise of everyone, he won Alphaship of the Sept. In his first order of business, he declared that there would be no hostilities from the Sept of the Sentinel, and Kiara could do as she pleased. We were relieved. The Kinfolk Council was rocked from the actions of Elizabeth. They still pressed on with the bill. It was amended to say that it would protect only the resident kinfolk of our sept, in an effort to prevent situations like the one we were faced with from the Sept of the Sentinel. As traditional as I can be, I am for the better treatment of our kinfolk. And I hope that other septs will take note of what we've done and follow suit with similar actions to put the rights of their kin on paper. As I draw this tale to a close, I want to reiterate this message. Be kind to your kin. They are precious, and they ensure that we can keep fighting, we can keep going. They're important and deserve to be cherished and treasured. Listen to them. Don't abuse them or brush them aside. They are far more than just breeding stock or money machines. When we hurt, they hurt. They grieve for lost Garu as we do. They love, laugh, cry, and feel pain just as we do. And I think some of us tend to forget that. And that is where I will leave you. She will relax back to her Hamid form as her tale has been told, and she will go back to her duties as temporary guardian patrolling the sept. And that is where this scene will come to an end. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.